me tell you about a friend. It's Craig LeBlanc where the good times never end. Talking Parks and Rec, it's a show you gotta know. Welcome one and all to the Daily Parks and Rec Show. It's the Daily Parks and Rec Show.
It's kind of like saying, taking a walk through the park, being in nature can be therapeutic and lower stress levels. And then if you can meet a few friends out in the park to go for a walk as a little friend group or community, this is where the therapy part of it comes in. Maybe we can get fatigued from life. And so it's important to learn how to rest, relax, downtime. Otherwise you get burnt out.
It's really similar to occupational therapy where they might teach you how to get out of bed in the morning. Rec therapy is going to give you a reason to get out of bed. You improve your quality of life. You become a valued member of whatever community you want to be, whether it's where you live, your friend group, the group that you go and spend time with every single day. And we get to use recreation and leisure as our interventions to meet individual goals.
Welcome to the Daily Parks and Rec Show. Today's episode is all about therapeutic recreation, what it means, why it matters, and how it's transforming parks and rec departments across the country. We are joined by Kate DeAngelis, a certified therapeutic recreation specialist who's leading the charge in creating inclusive, adaptive programs that truly serve everyone in the community. From accessibility and playgrounds to supporting diverse abilities, financial barriers, and even cultural inclusion, we're diving deep into how parks and rec can be a healing force for good. Whether you're a parks pro, a young leader, or someone passionate about inclusion, this episode will leave you inspired. Let's get into it. All right, this is Craig LeBlanc with the Daily Parks and Rec Show. My guest, I think, is having a little trouble getting on, so hopefully Kate DeAngelis can join us. She's got a great story about inclusion, what that means, how she incorporates that into her park system, and she has got actually great certification around all that. So a lot of times we talk about inclusion, what that means, how you maybe include people that normally get left out. I think it's a great topic because you want to make sure that because this is public land, this is public money, that we're making sure that we're doing stuff that everyone in our community can participate in or have access to. Typically, it's, we think of inclusion around, here I am just diving off into this topic. I really wanted to save a lot of this for Kate. I was reading over our notes. Let's start over. Craig LeBlanc, the doorman with the Daily Parks and Rec Show, here every day, weekdays rather, 12 noon. While I'm waiting for Kate, let me give y'all some updates. Hopefully she can make it. If not, I got tons of updates to give y'all. So yesterday, y'all heard me talk a lot about the different shows. So I just want to continue to raise awareness around that. So we have a 12 noon show 5 days a week, and it's evolving. It's into what you guys want. So how is it evolving? This 12 noon show is now going to be 4 days a week, Monday through Thursday. And we're going to call it Leadership Series, where we're taking people that have been in Parks and Rec for a while. They've risen up the food chain into leadership and telling their stories and what that journey looked like, while also highlighting the agencies, departments that they are leading. So this would be your assistant directors, superintendents, but also people that maybe just really lead in one particular area, super passionate about that. So we also bring like specialists in that maybe do special events super, super well, or, inclusion like Katie. So that's something that is going to be still on our noontime slot, but we have now reserved our Friday at noontime slot for Young Professionals Network and Emerging Professional Network. What's the difference, you might say? Young Professionals is just entering the workforce, just graduated college, just out of high school, has decided to, make parks and recreation the career path for them. And emerging professionals is, let's say you did something in parks and recreation outside of Parks and Recreation and are looking to come into it. That's kind of emerging professional. So we're going to do that for, oh, here we go. We got Katie. She made it.
Sorry, I kind of
That's okay.
finding the link, but I know, if it's anything but Zoom, it takes me a minute. So I'm here and I'm excited.
Fantastic. I was just telling, we're live, by the way, and I was just telling them about inclusion. And then I was like, wait, I have to stop because this is like her specialty. So I started giving them updates about the show and everything.
Oh, I'm so excited.
Okay, so I'll tell y'all updates about the show later after while we have Katie. Is it Kate? It's
Kate, Katie, whatever you prefer. Most people call me Kate, but
Sure.
It's a Tuesday. We can be fun. You can call me Katie if you'd like.
I like Kate. Let me put the what do you want to put under your name? Any title you want, any specialty you want, or even the city that you're working with, doesn't matter.
Yeah, you could put therapeutic recreation specialist. I know that's a mouthful.
Oh, you're gonna have to help me. Therapeutic. How do you spell that?
THE. Oh, I'm just gonna put it in the chat if that's helpful.
Oh, perfect. Yes. Even better. Now we're thinking. You don't want to see how horrible my spelling is.
Well, it was going to be bad when I was going to try to say it. And I was like, oh, no, I think I have to type it out to spell it.
I know. And AI is going to make it even worse. It's this technology is destroying our ability to use our language.
Right? I don't have spell check when I speak, so it makes it hard.
Well, now I'm like full on. I use Grok as my thinking assistant, and now I just speak to her, so I don't even have to. My typing speed's going down. Like I was a pretty quick typer, and now even that is I'm just talking. So I don't know. I remember when I was a student in Spanish, I could speak Spanish back then a little better, but I couldn't write it because I never had a reason to write Spanish.
Yeah.
So I imagine English might be like that. When's the last time we picked up a pen and writ?
Well, right. Sometimes I'll be like, oh, my hand is cramping. I haven't done this in a while.
Right. Use her to lose it.
Yeah. Yeah, really.
All right. So I was just reading over your LinkedIn and looking at the posts that you've made. And it's obviously a lot around inclusion. Mm-hmm. So I really wanted you to maybe do a deep dive into just define that word for most people that don't understand what that means. How does that play out in your community? How do we create our programming and structures around that? But so we can just do a deep dive into that since I know you have dedicated so much of your learning around that topic. So
yeah. No, definitely. I could talk inclusion all day long. It's like my favorite thing to do.
I love it.
And it's definitely ingrained in everything that we do in our department. It touches every aspect from administration to program planning to marketing. It really does impact everything that we do. And when I think of inclusion, I just think of giving opportunities for people to access the things that everyone else in their community or in their peer group is accessing. When we live in a town or a city or we're a part of a friend group, there are things that people get to do, whether it's going to the farmer's market, whether it's going to the movies with their friends. And a lot of times people take it for granted being able to either get in the car and drive there or get on a bus or get there somehow and be able to know what to do when we get there, know what our expectations are. And sometimes people with disabilities don't have all of those resources and opportunities for them because there's a lot more barriers in place. There might be financial barriers because it's more expensive to live with a disability than to live without. There's all of these additional fees that you have and all of these additional things you need to pay for. There might be barriers with like physical access, like if someone can't get on the bus, how are they going to get there? If there's not a wheelchair accessible bus, what are they going to do? So it's really just creating opportunities, and whether it's in your programs, events, or even in like your social circle, to be able to remove those barriers and welcome in anyone of any ability and background.
Yeah. And I feel like a lot of times when we hear the word inclusion, a lot of times it's often politicized as in, we're giving preferential treatment for a hire or something like that. But this is actually, Parks and Rec manages a real estate portfolio that they design and build for the whole community. Mm-hmm. And so, here the parent of this Down syndrome child, or maybe some elderly lady who maybe doesn't have, has a walker, these people have paid into this system, and it's important that we consider their access to it or their participation of it, or otherwise you could accidentally build all this for maybe just high school sports, and maybe like your whole park system is geared. If you're not in high school and you're not playing sports, then we haven't spent any money to make our systems and our real estate for you. And so this is kind of understanding that we need to consider all citizens within our am I framing that right? I'm trying to understand it at a deeper level.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's exactly right. You know, where every person has the same amount of ownership of their community and of the services that are in their community. So like if someone's not able to access that, that's a huge disservice to them because they're still contributing to their community, but they're not able to access it. And like I always say, inclusion helps every single person, whether you have a disability or not. You know, for those of us who have been camp counselors, we all have those kids that come up every 2 minutes, right? What's next? When are we going to the pool? When is snack? When is lunch? But if you have a visual schedule because someone there may identify with having autism and that helps them, and you hold it up for the whole group, that helps literally every single person there. They know what to expect and what's coming. And that really helps the counselor not have to say it's in 10 minutes, like 100 more times. They can refer back to that schedule. And things even like physical access, you know, think of all the people that get affected when there's a ramp put in place instead of a staircase. That's universal design. That makes it accessible for people who use mobility aids, for people who have strollers, for people who have walkers, like really anyone. And
Injured people.
Injured, right?
Out of surgery.
Yeah. I always love to use the example of like closed captions. I feel like you're either someone who loves closed captions or you hate them. I love them. And that's universal design because I can sit there and snack really loudly, but still know what's going on in my TV show. And that's something that all comes down to. That's an option because of accessibility, but it also helps me when I'm trying to snack and watch all my shows and know what's going on.
So maybe let's dig deep into the categories because you could be a person in a wheelchair that's maybe financially capable, and you could be a poor person in a wheelchair. So, you know, maybe the wheelchair ramp helps both of those people, but the cost of the program, you know, so there's different barriers to entry. You have to get into the facility, you have to be able to afford the program. And so what are all the different inclusion barriers that we're trying to break down?
Yeah. I mean, you also have to know that the program's happening. How do you know that's happening if you don't have access or the ability to look on a computer or give someone a phone call and ask questions? So there's a ton of different barriers. I mean, physical is one that I think we think of a lot. You know, we talk about that a lot when we're building new facilities. Attitudinal barriers are another big thing for inclusion. So
what is that attitudinal barrier?
Yeah. So that's, you know, people who are in the attitude of, well, I don't have a disability. Why do I need to worry about people accessing? Or having those stigmas of, you know, if someone with autism is coming into a program and someone being like, oh, well, they're just going to disrupt the whole class now. Like that's an attitudinal barrier that you're putting a preconceived notion in place and setting up this invisible barrier for someone that has not even met you yet and you don't even know yet. You know, I've experienced it before where in inclusive programs, people are like, well, my kid doesn't need support, so I don't really need them to be here with kids who do need support. And that's a huge attitudinal barrier. You're teaching your kids that we should be separated and we shouldn't be together. So if people have attitudes that, you know, people with disabilities are not capable of making decisions, are not capable of engaging and participating in, you know, leisure or recreation activities, it's kind of the mindset that people have. And if people's, you know, preconceived notions or stigmas or, you know, maybe even learned experiences have made them think of people with disabilities in a light that, you know, they need all this help, they don't contribute. That creates huge barriers. And like, who wants to go into a place where they think people already have something against them, right? And that's a hard one to break. I mean, because it's kind of like the saying, you know, people say you can't teach an old dog new tricks, but I think that in the world of recreation, like we have to keep learning because people change and we work for the community and we need to work for the needs of the community. So that's a really big one. And something that it's not just one person can change, which is hard too.
Now, another one I'd like you to speak on is, you know, some people just have single parent households or both parents work and you just don't have a ride. So
Yeah.
you can go, maybe even you can afford to go, but you just can't get a ride to going. And then also you've got families with like 5, 6, 7 kids, and so
Mhm.
they can afford to send 1 or 2, but they can't afford to send all 7, and so there's other barriers of participation that, can you speak on those at all?
Definitely. I mean, financial barriers are huge. Like I said before, having a disability costs more money. Just living in the world and having, additional needs, it just costs you more money. And that's
Mhm.
a sad but true fact. So a lot of times finances are a huge barrier. Also, people with disabilities, they might not be able to, a lot of people can have a full-time job. Some might not be able to have a job and generate income to be able to do all of these great programs and resources. Or like you said,
Mm.
maybe there's a lot of kids in the family. And that it's really sad that families sometimes have to choose between, maybe doing different therapies than going to a recreation program because of finances or because of being able to drive places. And it impacts again everyone because inclusion truly benefits every single person in that program. So it's really a disservice when there's not a wide range of abilities in a program because that's not a true picture of the world that we live in.
Mhm.
And I think that departments have a duty to kind of identify if there are populations living in their community that do have those barriers and look up ways and kind of come up with different ways to either mitigate that or help. We have here in my department, whenever anyone registers for a program, they get asked if they want to donate to what we call the All Abilities Fund. And
Mhm.
that helps with program registration fees. It helps with membership fees. And it goes right back into the disability community to try to lessen the financial barrier, because
Right.
it's such a prevalent one.
Yeah, and it's basically, you can pay for if you can pay full price, then pay it, and maybe full price includes contributing a dollar or 2 to those that are beneath you, and then
Right.
that way the city doesn't have to bear the full burden of it, that participants can, contribute to making sure that the team is full and it has all the best players on it. Because I remember growing up, I had, you could probably look him up, Warwick Dunn. He was a famous running back. I went to high school with him, and he didn't have a right. His single mom was a police officer. Unfortunately, she got killed in line of duty while he was at school. And if people didn't give him a ride to school, and if he wasn't on athletic scholarship, he would have never become pretty famous running back in the NFL. And now he's come back to contribute so much to his community. But he was literally the best football player in the state of Louisiana during our times when he was there. And he could just be like a champion of inclusion, because without that, he would have not been able to have access to those programs.
Yeah. And I love that you mentioned that too, because inclusion isn't just for people with disabilities. It's for people with, any life circumstance that
Mhm.
needs some additional support to be able to access what is in their community and what is for their peers. So like, yeah, financial burdens can be a huge barrier to inclusion for anyone with or without a disability.
Mhm.
And I think socioeconomic status, like race, all of those things kind of fall under that inclusion umbrella of things that we as park and rec professionals need to work on to make those individuals feel welcomed and like they have a space and that they are supported in our programs and our events and at our facilities.
Yeah. Now, how much have you gotten into the actual structures? I know sometimes we look at our playgrounds to make sure that they're accessible. Because when I grew up, it was literally gravel,
Yeah.
and that was the nice ones.
Yeah.
So I can imagine rolling a wheelchair through gravel, and if it wasn't gravel, it was just dirt and grass, which probably a little more accessible. But today, you see these semi-rubberized hard surfaces and all the little playgrounds. Maybe you can speak about how that's kind of
Yes.
evolving.
Oh, pour in place. I am like the biggest advocate. I never thought in my life I would be so excited about a type of surfacing. Um,
Describe pour in place for those that aren't familiar with what you're talking
Yeah. Yeah. So pour in place is kind of a rubberized material that is used as surfacing for like playgrounds. And it kind of has a bounce to it. Like there's a little bit of give, which is really nice. And it's a hard surface. So, using any mobility aid on it is so easy and smooth. It's kind of like just going over a floor, which is
Mhm.
so nice. Some people are really against them because there's the preconceived notion that there's environmental impacts using like a rubber surface, but
Mhm.
actually most of the surfaces are made from all recycled materials. So, but it's just like kind of like if you ever went to like a gymnastics class when you were younger and has that kind of a bouncy
Mhm.
floor to it. That's the feeling that it has, and it is just the most accessible thing ever. If I could go around to every playground in the United States and shovel out the mulch from every
Mhm.
playground and the wood chips, I would.
Yeah.
From experience, pushing a wheelchair on wood chips is so hard.
Right.
And it's right now, it's the ADA compliant
Yeah.
solution. But let me tell you, it is not. If you go out there and you're doing it yourself, it's really not. And it creates more barriers. And yeah, so pour in place, I'm the biggest advocate. And again, that's when I
Right.
know I'm like getting older in life, is when like these things get me really excited.
Right. And so talk about even the playgrounds themselves, how now they're wide enough and I actually had a friend of mine who works for, shout out to Ricky Compton. I'm getting you on the show one day. They just had a all-inclusive playground where you can literally take the wheelchair through most of the playground,
Yeah,
even when you go up to second layer levels and stuff like that.
that is so cool. And that's the dream. I mean, that's universal design where, and every single person, that doesn't take away from the playground attractions for people who are not wheelchair users. It just allows for more play with more people. My biggest dream is to create a fully universally designed playground, because it's so like, for me, inclusion happens easiest at the playground. Like
Mhm.
every kid is just there to have fun. That is their goal. And there's not those adult influences there telling you like, oh, go talk to that kid, go talk to that kid, and setting all these demands on you. Like it's
Mhm.
true free play. And that's where I see the most inclusion happening naturally. And they're just like my favorite spaces to be in.
Mm. Now this is one I had not thought about, but and Ricky's Playground doesn't have this yet, but one of the guests on the show talked about the fence as being part of inclusion because
Yes.
you're a mom with a hyperactive kid like I was when I was little. You did not get a second's rest because I could have like been 3 blocks away from the playground in seconds if you weren't
Yeah,
paying
right.
attention.
Oh, big fan of the fences. I think that because playgrounds, you should be able to kind of do challenge by choice. Like there should be things that are a little scary where you can be on your own and have a little bit of freedom. And fences allow that to happen in a safe space where, as a caregiver, you don't have to worry that they're going to run right away, and that they are still able to make their own choices and try new things that might be scary, like the really tall slide, or trying these new things while knowing that they're still safe. I feel like, obviously it's going to look prettier without a fence,
Mhm.
but for the safety and ease of mind of everyone, I think fences are so important to have, especially around water. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Yeah, and if you don't think you need fences, then go recruit about 5, 6-year-olds and say, "I'll take them to the park today,"
Yeah, right.
and then try to have, a decent a time where you're not ready to, kill them all.
Oh yeah.
They're so hard to keep track of.
Yeah, I was talking to a playground manufacturer at the last state conference, and I was like, you should do a session where you just have a ton of kids come and show how to use the equipment wrong. See all of the ways equipment can be used in the wrong way, to see what you should do for safety and how to design it, because the kids will find a way to make
Yeah,
it into something it's not.
yeah. So where did you get I wanted you to speak a little bit about, what's that certification that you have?
The therapeutic rec specialist.
Yes, that and then, what else did I see on there? I thought you had 2 sort of or maybe one was like an institution that
Oh,
offered
yeah.
it.
So, probably through National Inclusion Project, the inclusive specialist course, inclusive
Yeah, so
recreation specialist. Yeah, I
maybe talk about what that is, how you get it, who
for
in
sure.
Parks and Rec would wanna attain it, and what that kind of benefits that has to their community.
Yeah, for sure. So I went to school at UNH, go Wildcats, best school ever. And I studied therapeutic recreation there. And when you go for your undergrad, you do have to complete like an internship. And then it's recommended to sit for your exam afterwards to be certified in therapeutic recreation. So basically, that means you're the qualified provider of recreation therapy services.
Mhm.
Some states require you to be certified and licensed. Where I am, it only requires certification. But so it's similar if anyone's taken like their CPRP, their Certified Parks and Rec Professional exam. It's a really similar format where it kind of just tests you on all of your undergraduate knowledge and then takes information from what you would have learned like in your hands-on internships and things. And then when you sit for that, you have to then do CEUs every year and every 5 years to maintain it. But it's a really cool certification because we then have access to like a database with all other CTRSs in the country. And it's cool to connect with people who maybe aren't working in Parks and Rec and have ideas of what we could bring into Parks and Rec and things like that. And then throughout, my past few years, I've always looked for new trainings and certifications because I love learning, because I feel like every day I realize how much I don't know. So the National Inclusion Project, I want to give them a huge shout out. They're really great. They do a ton of great online trainings. They have like free trainings, but one thing they did was it's called an Inclusive Recreation Specialist course. And I highly recommend it to any Parks and Rec professional who doesn't have a ton of experience or background with disability recreation. And I encourage you to take this class. It is like a multi-week course, but it's really manageable, a few hours each week. And you get to take your own programs and look at them at an outside lens of like what to add in, what you can change, and really assess how inclusive that current program or organization is. And I think that it is such an amazing resource for people to up their knowledge and up their skills, especially if there's not an opportunity to bring a CTRS into your department. Have someone who has taken this course and has those tools is like awesome.
Now, how are you using the word therapy, and maybe define what is therapeutic recreation?
Yeah, I probably should have started with that. I think my college professors would be disappointed. I did not do my elevator speech yet.
Yeah. Well, I know a lot of times you get, and all of us are guilty of this. We get super passionate about one topic and we go so far down the rabbit hole. And when we come back, we speak a new language and no one around us understands these 30 words we just peppered the last paragraph with.
Oh yeah. 100%. So to take it back a little, so therapeutic recreation, it uses recreation and leisure to improve someone's quality of life, improve their physical life, social life, cognitive and spiritual life. And really it's, I always say it's really similar to occupational therapy, where they might teach you how to get out of bed in the morning. Rec therapy is going to give you a reason to get out of bed. You improve your quality of life. You become a valued member of whatever community you want to be, whether it's where you live, your friend group, the group that you go and spend time with every single day. And we get to use recreation and leisure as our interventions to meet individual goals.
So it's kind of like saying, taking a walk through the park, being in nature can be therapeutic and lower stress levels. And then if you can meet a few friends out in the park to go for a walk as a little friend group or community, this is where the therapy part of it comes in. Just why do we use therapy? Why do we need therapy? Maybe we can get fatigued from life. And so it's important to learn how to rest, relax, downtime. Otherwise you get burnout and you can start seeing a lot of health issues pop up. And so therapeutic recreation is kind of y'all's department saying, hey, we need to have programs where people looking to just take a break in our communities. What does that look like and how do we facilitate that? Am I anywhere near?
Yes, no, I love that. I think as people and with technology, we kind of forgot how to spend leisure time and spend free time. All of us. And I think, and for people with disabilities, it's hard when you don't have those past experiences because, think back to your gym class. I did not have anyone with disabilities in my class. Think back to
Mhm.
your sports teams and think back to all of those experiences where you made your friends growing up and you made those core experiences of what made you who you are. So a lot of
Mhm.
times people with disabilities don't have that experience. So that's why therapeutic recreation, it teaches them these tools and skills and these opportunities that can be therapeutic and can impact your life. And then people without disabilities just again forgot how to do it. They get so wrapped up in the daily life of checking your email during your free time, like scrolling through X during when you have a down minute, instead of really kind of taking a breath and being like, okay, what can I do that's good for me today? That's either good for me physically, developmentally, cognitively, spiritually. So therapeutic rec really can benefit anyone of any ability level.
I'm so glad you mentioned X. I am on X all the time, but this community is never on X.
Yeah.
They're on LinkedIn and Facebook.
Oh yeah.
But I get a lot of my news from X, and of course I'm a Bitcoiner, so they're
Yeah.
all on X. But as an example, and here's something that maybe you can think about. Shout out to all the Black community here in New Orleans. If you want to see a culture, a Black culture that knows how to do recreation in our park, every Saturday or Sunday they're setting up. Looks like mini family reunions nonstop in New Orleans. And so we use the heck out of our parks. But maybe you can speak to other, not just but what are some of the cultures that maybe don't have a place to unite or come together that we see? We don't want to exclude different cultures. We want
Yeah.
to give them a place as well.
Oh, 100%. And the community that I work in is very culturally diverse. And we've had to kind of pivot what we were doing and really start opening up more opportunities for different cultures to come in and educate, but also celebrate. Because, I feel like when DEI was like a really big shift a few years ago, and that's when people started realizing all of the gaps that they had,
Mhm.
of celebrations and programs and events and things like that. And I felt like a lot of us went to these communities and culture groups saying, like, teach us all these things. When, like, that's not necessarily their role. They also want to experience and celebrate and participate. And so really kind of listening and observing the other cultures and what they're doing and the programs that they tend to be attending, or that seem to be popular, like really encouraging those and bringing those voices into planning. Like we have this area in our community center that it's the holiday area, and different cultural groups come in and they decorate it for the holiday that's coming up. And we've had so many different holidays that I've never known about. People come in and feel really just welcomed when, for example, for the Chinese New Year, we had a station where you could fill out these red ribbons, which is part of the cultural celebration, where you write your wishes for the year, and then you have the money envelope. So we had that all around our community center and just kind of passing them around, because I do think a lot of times and historically, Parks and Recreation has been targeted towards white kids who play sports.
Yeah.
And so now we're shifting where we have all kids of all different abilities, all different backgrounds. And also, sports isn't what everyone wants to play all the time. Like, I think Parks and Rec is really having to pivot a little from physical recreation to all aspects of recreation.
Right.
Um, like, for example, we have a lot of cultural groups who came to us saying, we play chess in our spare time. We want more chess classes. There's so many other opportunities and programs and things that people can do that either will relate, they can, relate it to their culture, or it's something that they can bring new into us. So I think expanding programming is a big way to bring other cultures into the picture and into the conversation.
Yeah, and look, if you want to see where it's being done, well, just come to New Orleans.
That sounds fun. I want to go.
Yeah, shout out to Larry Barbarino. He's our director over there. And just to give you three good case studies, we have a very good tennis center, which is more or less white middle-aged women that are playing there. But then we have the Black community that just has totally unscheduled, set up lawn chairs, tent, start barbecuing, and that's every weekend that it's not pouring down rain. But then we have the Latin communities that are playing full-on soccer tournaments, unscheduled, no refs, no nothing. It's just, they just show up. And then we also have like yoga clubs and running clubs. And so I was talking to Larry and he's like, we've had to learn to cater to the unscheduled events because we were coming from, very regimented sports teams, um, seasons. And then the Latino community comes in and they love it just like it is. They don't ask for anything, but you don't never know who or how many are showing up. And so they had to learn to kind of cater to these three distinct cultures. And New Orleans is like a melting pot, so you get them all. So, anything else to say about the different cultures and how you kind of gear your park systems towards them?
I think in the terms of the park systems, just having a variety of activities and kind of challenge by choice where you are. Like, I'm thinking of one of our walking paths, like you can go on the more difficult levels, you can go on the lower levels,
Oh, yeah.
you can sit there, you can picnic, like having things for other people to do. And also, like you said, kind of when you were talking about the New Orleans, it made me think of like post-COVID, parks and open spaces are such valuable resources where, it's not intimidating to go to like this casual drop-in where I'm just going once and gonna try it out, and so I think like opportunities like that are so important, especially for all different cultures, because from what I've learned too, and just speaking with different caregivers and families, recreation and leisure isn't a huge value of some cultures. So, really creating opportunities where they can participate in the activities that they do want to participate in or that are important to their culture. They have the spaces to be able to do that. And kind of like you said, like just being able to go and do a pickup game with your community, like it's an amazing experience. And I think as thinking about kind of my role in Parks and Recreation and all of the different cultural groups, like just continuing to advocate for more open spaces, because having those unstructured and meaningful and natural relationships occur is how inclusion happens between cultures and between people. And
right. Well, maybe we can talk a little bit about open spaces, what they're used for, how to pull them in, because I mean, again, I'll use City Park in New Orleans. If you go there and see a structured event, you're like, oh, what's that going on? Because if you'll have 20 events there, one will be structured, the other 19 just showed up randomly. But maybe talk more about these open spaces. Define what an open space is, and then what it's used for, and how this helps with everything you're talking about.
Yeah. So when I think of open spaces, I usually typically think of green spaces, whether it's an open park, a field, like a multi-purpose field, or whether it's like a recreation complex that has tons of different fields and spaces, and also playgrounds. I mean, I kind of spoke about how obsessed I am with playgrounds and inclusion, but just having natural spaces that you're surrounded by innately therapeutic things, like where you hear the birds or you hear the leaves rustling or there's water near you. Like it's so important for people to have access to it, of every socioeconomic status, every culture group, every ability level, because for me, when I see an open space, I literally see 1,000 different opportunities. Like you can do active recreation, you can do passive recreation, you can sit there and be by yourself and take some time to do something that is therapeutic for you. And it's also such a great space for people to connect and bring people together, whether it's they want to connect and go for a walk, or they notice that the garden is really run down, so they want to try to fix it up and bring it to the town that they work together and create a group to fix it up. Like I feel like the best conversations usually happen in that natural setting, and like the greatest outcomes sometimes happen there. And especially like, I feel like there's such a big push for development in so many communities, like with housing and businesses, and that a lot of times open spaces get taken away and those green spaces get taken away. But like it affects people's physical health, their mental health, it affects their relationships. Like, being able to just go outside and play. Like, I feel like no one does that anymore. I remember like going out and like I would go home when the streetlights came on. Like I was stereotypical like that, and especially in the world, like the world is kind of scary, and people don't feel as comfortable letting their kids just go out and play. So having spaces that are safe and people can do that is so important, because open spaces don't have any prejudices. They don't care what background you are. They don't care your ability level. Like, it's just there to enjoy and to be.
Right. Yeah. And I can give you one testimony for me personally. When a couple years ago, and this actually got me into podcasting, I was on X Spaces. For those of you not familiar with X, there's a place called Spaces, and you can type in any topic, and there's people live just talking about that, and you can come up to the stage and speak. So I started the Bitcoin Daily Show that was from 7 to 9 a.m. and I would use that as my walking time, and I would walk through the open spaces in City Park, and there were no stripes. And maybe you can talk about why it's important to not stripe an open space, because then you feel like you can only play soccer or something on that. But we would see people just working out, yoga. They were just having a picnic right in the middle of it, or they were throwing frisbee. And so how do we make sure to keep those open spaces as neutral as possible? What are some kind of ways to not do that? Maybe speak about some do's and don'ts.
I would say having lighting is really important, just to make people feel safe, and to also have opportunities when it's dark out, because that will help with, I think, again, safety. Giving people a space where they can go and don't have to, try to sneak in or break in. Like, having those opportunities at night and making sure that people feel safe going there is like the biggest importance. And also keeping in mind, like, accessibility, transportation. How do people get there? What do they do when they get there? But making it so it's not dictated or directed, like not deciding for people what they're going to play when they get there, what they're going to do when they get there. Because like I said, you see an open field of just grass. Like, my brain instantly goes back to field day in elementary school, where we had like 30 different activities on the field.
Right.
Because, we could do all those things. But then if you do have it lined, which, don't get me wrong, lined fields are important, necessary, needed. But I think then maybe some user groups will start taking more advantage of those spaces that then make opportunities for just passive recreation more limited. And then again, like, it's not giving people the choice of what they want to do there. So I love when it's just an open field and the opportunities are endless. Like, I love to just put a few kids in a field and see what they come up with. It's so cool. They see all of the different thousands of different ideas and games that they come up with just having grass.
Yeah. Now, are there any communities or cities that you visited that do it well, that maybe we could point people to? I mean, I can keep using New Orleans, but I'm trying to think of other cities that have just gorgeous open spaces, and you can go there literally any sunny day and see 30 different uses of the exact same space.
Yeah. Well, I'm in New England, which makes it a little tougher, because if we have like spring, fake spring, winter again, then spring, then summer.
What's fake spring? I never heard that before.
Oh, we get fake spring about 10 times. We had a 75 sunny day on Friday. Yesterday, it was flurrying and 38 degrees. So we had spring. Now we have winter again. Maybe we'll have spring again next week. So open spaces can be a little tough here in New England, because obviously it's weather-based and going outside. But I want to just shout out all Massachusetts communities, because they find a way to make green and open spaces work, and they find a way to use their resources, especially like we are, outside of Boston. So there's not any towns or communities I can think of specifically that do a great job, because every place I've visited, I've been shocked at the open space that they've been able to bring into like a city or a suburb of a city. But a playground I will tell you about that I'm obsessed with and that I want to build one day is in Grand Prairie, Texas. It's, I think it's Great Adventures. I'll have to check that. But it's in Grand Prairie, Texas. It is the most amazing playground I've ever seen in my life. It has like pods, and it has, if you're a caregiver or a parent, you can stand in the middle and see everything around you and see all of the different play areas. And I love that. I think open spaces that have options for kids to be able to actively play by themselves, and then parents or caregivers to do something, whether it's walking around an area, maybe there's some natural outdoor workout equipment, like things that people can kind of do separately but in the same space. It's just chef's kiss.
I'm wondering, did we include you in a group text on LinkedIn yet for this interview? I need to. I'll create that after. Let's do this for the community. Okay, so we're going to do something for the community. If you're willing to help me do a little extra work.
Oh, always.
So we're going to create a group text between me, you, and a couple of our content creators that will take videos and images. And so if you could go find some little short clips or videos, even if they're just playground or inclusion use, then I'll get Chris to make like a 1 or 2 minute little video. And so they usually take this 1 hour interview between me and you. They'll also create a highlight reel to where it's like, here's some highlights of Kate saying this and that. But then right before that, we could really do almost like a promo for inclusion as a topic within that, and then have some B-rolls coming through there. I'll create a group text, and then you can just upload what you find, and it can be anywhere in America that maybe you can find a park that's doing exactly what you've been talking about.
Yes, I love that.
And then that way it can exist forever on our YouTube library so that people can come and maybe press play and get a little taste of what you're talking about without having to go, or maybe it'll just inspire them to go get that certification and maybe get someone like you on staff.
Yes, everyone needs one on staff.
Yes.
I'm so happy about it.
And what's the exact title you call yourself when you say on staff?
Yeah, I'm the therapeutic rec specialist on staff.
Therapeutic rec specialist.
Yeah.
And now, are there any other things that a therapeutic rec specialist does or specializes in aside from inclusion? What are some of the other things?
Definitely. So I would say inclusion is like one of the hats I wear because I'm also a programmer. I have to program adaptive programs, which are specific for people with disabilities. But then I also have to do, all of our administrative work. We have a big team. I have about 20 staff who work with me to make everything I do happen. But also like staff training is a lot, doing a lot of staff training, just surrounding everything, not just inclusion, because when people have knowledge, that gives them power and that gives them the chance to share it with other people. And sometimes not having the information is a barrier to just participating in recreation in general. And so I definitely have to do a lot of that. But I think a lot of people sometimes, when they're like, oh, a CTRS will come and they'll just do inclusion, they're also going to do a lot more. They're going to look at your physical facilities. They're going to typically make programs just better quality, because a lot of times, again, those inclusion tools will improve the experience for every single person. And then I'm starting to kind of be able to help out with capital projects, which is really cool. So I feel like I wear a lot of different hats, whether it's like programmer, administrator, manager, as all of us in Parks and Rec, it's like the ever-changing role.
Right. And I really did want to hammer the point home that it's not just about, it is certainly about disability, and that's also wanting to be included. But many times you may be trying to put together a little sports team or an activity for an age group, but you've excluded populations that maybe can't get there. They don't have the transportation. Maybe it's the scheduling. Maybe it's financing. Maybe it's just a cultural barrier. Maybe it's a language barrier.
That's a big one. That's something I help out with a lot too, is language barriers and, disabilities, but also medical conditions, allergies, things like that people just need some extra support with to be able to access and participate.
Now, let's say we have just, because a lot of the agencies are smaller and, their entire staff is 20 people. And that's groundskeepers, everybody, all put together. So what can you do? Is there any kind of resource you can give for somebody just trying to learn a little bit more? They can't hire a full-time staffer like yourself, but they still they hear what you're saying. They don't want to exclude people in their community. So how can they just kind of incorporate a lot of your lessons aside from watching this video?
Yes, of course. Watch this video and subscribe to the Daily Parks and Rec Show for one. But number two is really look at what you're already offering, because then you can start with, you already have the buy-in, you already have the resources, and what can you do to just add a little bit of, inclusion in it, whether it's building in a visual schedule. And I really recommend that National Inclusion Project training. I think for someone who's looking to just enhance what they're doing, it's such a good place to start. There's also a few different trainings. There's Inclusion U, which is, I think, through SUNY Cortland online. But also just continue to ask questions, because usually you're not alone. And especially if you're a member of NRPA, like, go to NRPA Connect and ask the question you have, ask how to get started, ask for resources, because something my mentor has instilled in me is case, copy and steal everything. We don't need to recreate the wheel. Like, I have intake assessments. People can just take and put their logo on and change up the information, and really lean on others who are already doing it or who are also looking to start doing it, so that, you can support each other and do a lot of research. There's so many departments that I take from that are doing such incredible jobs, and I will pull, like, they have their information all online, and I'll just pull things from them, or I'll reach out to those staff that I see the contact information online and just ask a lot of questions.
Yeah. And aside from when Katie retires and starts a consulting firm, for this topic, she's actually got a really good LinkedIn. So follow her on LinkedIn. She posts a lot of this type of content online. She'll put the flyer up there. And so literally you could just take that offline, put your logo on it, and almost change nothing. And that way you're not, and it was designed by someone who has gone super deep down this rabbit hole. So like she said,
Can also bring me in for a virtual or in-person training.
That's it. Right. And then, yeah. So any kind of resources we can add to this, that would be great to add to the overall content here. Are there any other people like yourself or mentors that you've had throughout this that maybe you could give a shout out to?
Oh my gosh, yes. 110%. A huge shout out to Emma Andrus. She's in Burlington, Massachusetts. And her and I kind of started in the field at the same time. And it's just, she's such an incredible resource, who she has built so many amazing things, but has also sustained so many things that she kind of inherited from the division already being created, that she just does such incredible work and is such a great person to lean on, and is so passionate that I'm so lucky to have her to call up whenever I have a question. And I recommend, if you feel like you're alone, just find someone who you can call on your way to work, on your way home, and vent and ask questions. Because again, like, I'm sure your experience is hard, but it's not a solo experience. Other people are going through it too. And also my director, Melissa Petit, she is the best mentor I could have ever asked for. She has pushed me so much professionally and personally, to where I love, like, being an advocate for therapeutic recreation and inclusion. And she's given me the confidence, but also the tools and the freedom to be able to see what works, see what doesn't work, try things out, and kind of figure out who I am as a professional and what TR looks like for me. And it's just been really, it was really nice to come out of college and go into a position where I was terrified. I mean, I was so scared. I didn't even know what, like, a W-2 was. And to have someone who made me realize, like, it's okay to fail, because that's when you learn, was really impactful. And I try to bring that with all of the students that I work with. But and also, she really recognizes us for our successes and really stands with us when we experience things that aren't successful. And I think being, again, just having a space where I know that I can try things out and it won't go well and everything will still be okay, and also support, has just been, like, incredible. And she encourages me to, just continue to advocate and do all of these things that push me professionally. And I will always shout her out, because she truly changed my career and has made the biggest impact in it.
Yeah, that's so true. There's overwhelming scientific evidence now proving that when you do things you don't want to do, that make you uncomfortable, failure is uncomfortable, that stressing your body during a workout is uncomfortable, but the body is anti-fragile, the mind's anti-fragile, it recovers stronger. And anything you stress, so anytime you put yourself in a comfortable, do the things you don't want to do, you always recover stronger. That part of the brain actually gets more complex and gets more resilient. And so if anything, we should be chasing failure. If you're making every shot, you're probably right up under the goal, back up a little.
Yeah.
You'll start missing more. The further you get away, the harder the target is to hit.
Yeah. I tell my staff to run to the scary, run to the things that scare you, because that's how you'll grow. And I think people in Parks and Rec are already halfway there to being inclusive or, bringing TR in, because as Parks and Rec professionals, we have to be flexible. We have to have plan A, B, C, D, and E. And with therapeutic planning, like that's a lot of times what you have to do too. So I think,
it is hard. It is hard to include everybody. And sometimes it's just not possible. And so you do the best you can, knowing you're not going to get everybody, but you just do the best you can. You're not going to get the guy in the wheelchair up the thing that you have to climb through the little rope ladders and stuff. But, if you can get him on there and get him through as much as possible, it's better than zero. And so just get off of zero is maybe the message here.
Yeah. Start small, start super small, and just ask the question at registration, what can we do to help you? And just ask people questions and get to know more about them and show them that you care, and people will be open with you, and inclusion will just start to naturally happen.
Yeah. I had an idea just now. I don't know if you saw last Friday, we did our YPN. We had the Young Professionals Network. We had 6, counting myself, it was 6 people as a panel. And we're going to do that every Friday so if you're new to Parks and Rec, meaning you come from a totally different industry, and it's your first 1 to 5 years, that's called emerging professionals, I think is how we're looking like it's going to get labeled. And then or just young professionals, which means you just graduated college, high school, your first time into the workforce in Parks and Rec. Friday noon is your show. But maybe we can do a similar show, maybe just a one-time show or every quarter or something, just on TR. Here I am using your acronym.
I love that.
Therapeutic recreation. So I could start a little group chat again, and you can say, well, if we're going to do a panel, let's have these 3 other people on here, because they want it at a high level. And then we'll just pick a date and just have a therapeutic recreation panel.
Love that.
So yeah, I'd love to kind of organize that, because it's such an important topic that many times people just don't have the bandwidth to specialize to your degree. But if they knew what y'all knew, or even had y'all somewhat as a brain trust they could tap into, they would certainly do these things. It's not like people that aren't doing this are saying, we don't like anyone that doesn't look exactly like us. They just don't know any better. Don't have the resources.
And I will say, the trends are pushing towards inclusion and therapeutic programming, and there's a big push for CTRSs to be in communities. So which is exciting, and it's exciting to see how the future will look for the world of Parks and Rec and how we'll evolve.
Are there any private companies that maybe just can give you a part-timer or a consultant to come in before, if you just can't have a full-time staffer? Or what are the common people that maybe do part-time work in this?
No, that's a good question. And there's definitely consultants who will do that. But I recommend reaching out to your local universities to see if there is a TR program, or even occupational therapy or special education. I have a lot of phenomenal staff who are currently in college, pursuing their undergrad in related fields. And they're great, and they want to work part-time hours. And they're such big helps. Also looking at the schools, the different paraprofessionals who are there and working, because a lot of times their off time is when your on time is, after schools, vacations, summer programs, things like that. So those are really great part-time resources. And then also just reaching out to your local Parks and Rec association. Some associations do have resources where they either know consultants, or maybe another community has a CTRS and that you can start a job share. So I would say look at all of the different things, all the different resources, look at students, look at even educators, or some retired CTRSs are still looking for part-time jobs. And I know of so many. Yes. Yeah. I know out west and south, and there's a lot of different private TR companies that do provide staff too. So I always recommend just looking up recreation therapy in your area or in your state and seeing what's available. Or you can always reach out to me if I know of anything available in your area, or reaching out to NRPA, things like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And maybe give us another, to all those interested in this topic and calling all therapeutic recreation specialists, we're going to give us about a month to put together a panel, and you can come and we're going to have some authorities within there that Kate's going to help us find. And just in the comment section, you can literally ask questions you'll have them for an hour live. And so we'll see their question pop up, and then you can get an answer and then maybe
I
connect
love
with them
that.
offline. So
Love that.
fantastic. Well, man, I can't believe it's already been 57 minutes. That was
I
fun.
know. I could podcast for hours. This is so fun.
Well, we're gonna have to do it again. Let's as soon as I'm done with this, I'll put together 2 groups. One for this actual show so that we can get some good videos and images, and we'll need a good headshot of you as well for the thumbnail.
Yeah.
And we'll title it something along those lines of, therapeutic specialist or recreation, that kind of stuff. I'll make sure, and you can help us dial that in before we release it on YouTube.
Awesome.
And then we'll create another group just for the special that we're going to do. We'll do a special about a month from now or something.
I love that. I'm so excited.
Yeah, it's such an important topic, and I'm sorry it's taken me. This is episode number 98. This is the first time I've talked about this topic to this degree. So
No, I think it's awesome. It's fantastic, and I'm glad that you're starting to open up the conversation more about it.
yes. And with that in mind, now we have 4 this would be our 5th topic, but we have our leadership series, which is Monday through Thursday, same time, 12 noon, and that's directors, assistant directors, superintendents. Friday is our young professionals, emerging professionals, same time, noon. And then I swear within the next couple of weeks, we're going to have an 11 a.m. show from Monday through Thursday just on park maintenance, because
I love that.
this crowd gets the least amount of love in content creation.
Yeah.
And thanks to Jamie Sabak and Sevi and people like her, we're going to do Financial Fridays, talk about financial sustainability so that we can afford to do stuff like Kate's talking about. Because if you can't afford to write the checks, then all this is for nothing.
I love that. And if you ever want, we have an amazing admin manager who makes all of this work, and she does all of my cost recovery and make sure that we can offer these things. She's phenomenal and so awesome, and she'd be a great guest here to talk about.
Please help me get in touch with her. And calling all people into Park Finance, you have a show on Friday, 11 a.m. We're going to make it Financial Fridays, all about sustainability, cost recovery, making sure that we're not having a 50-year backlog of cost recovery that's crushing us 10 years from now.
Yeah.
Can't wait. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah,
Kate.
thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're going to do this again. I can see it.
Yes, that sounds so fun. And then we're going to do it in person, where we can go to one of the fun work events near you.
New Orleans, trip to New Orleans. I can already see it coming.
Yeah, perfect.
Road trip. Fantastic. Thank you for coming on, Kate.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Have a good one.
Yep. Take care.
Bye.
All right. Wow. What a great show that was. Got a lot of good ideas out of that one. All right. So we've got some homework to do. If you are in TR, aka therapeutic recreation, or you're a specialist there, we're going to make a show just for you, one-time show. And I think we'll probably end up doing it, at least quarterly. Such a great topic. And so we'd love to have all of y'all come on. We'll probably do a panel of like 5 or 6 people, counting myself. So really 4 specialists, 5 specialists. But please populate the comment section, or if you just want to learn more, I'll keep promoting that until it comes in. So give us about a month to kind of put that show together, and then that way you can kind of attend it. Send me on LinkedIn any resources around this topic, and I can also include it in our little therapeutic recreation brain trust that we'll be putting together. And so, what a great topic. That's 98th episode, still haven't covered. And I know there are others. There are other great topics, people that, aquatics is another one. I haven't done a show yet on aquatics, but there's another great community within a community that just focuses on teaching the value of swimming. There's a lot of therapeutic recreation revolves around the swimming pool, especially for the elderly or people that are injured, recovering from something like that. It's not just about team swimming or anything like that. So lots of great topics. We'll just kind of run through them. All right. So before I started that, I was telling y'all about the different programs that we have. And then I'm going to tell y'all how you can support us by, we've got a couple of cool ways that are kind of coming out. And I swear I am going to put together a Patreon account for this channel, because I've had people asking me, hey, what if I just want to give $5 a month? And I'm like, Patreon's a way I know how to do it. Of course, I could do it a Bitcoin route, but that's a little more complicated for this community. That's coming though. Shout out to my friends in Nostra. Shout out to my friends that do these micro payments through Bitcoin, so you can actually tip live. But it's going to take some time. This is like early internet stage of second layer of Bitcoin, but it's coming. Till then, we'll have to use some program like Patreon, and that way, anybody that thinks that our work is valuable as we create an entire network, a media company for parks and recreation, all things parks. I'd love to expand this thing out to, I don't know if I want to do a 24/7 news, CNN style or ESPN network, but hey, we got 5 hours a week right now. We're getting ready to kick that up to 10 hours a week. I don't know that we'll reach 168 hours a week. I mean, maybe with reruns and stuff, but that's my mission, is to really create a really good media company that has as much programming as possible. Whether it's all around finance, whether it's about leadership, whether it's about therapeutic recreation, whether it's aquatics, whether it's about sports, whether it's about senior services, playground construction, maintenance, you name it. Gosh, if as my bandwidth and my team's bandwidth grows, we could certainly have, man, probably 8 hours a day, 5, 6, 7 days a week. And I think that's going to be important to the community, to have a place that we can put our knowledge and wisdom, our heroes, our retired people, our people that have pursued excellence in very, very small categories within that we want to share with the whole community. So imagine if you've got the U.S. best at cost recovery, or let's just say therapeutic specialists. What are the top 10 cities in America that are just super good at excelling in that? And not necessarily because they have all this money, but because they've intentionally said, we want to make sure that we include everybody. Why don't we highlight those communities? Why don't we highlight the leaders that brought it there and have it, in our YouTube channel, or just accessible to the nation? So that way, if you can't attend your local state convention, or if the world's best in therapeutic recreation is going to be in Orlando, but that's only 5,000 people that attend that event, and maybe there's 350,000 Parks and Rec people that could benefit from that one breakout class, chances are that class, if it's a really good class and very well-known speaker, it's going to be full. So we want to have regular discussions around these topics. And I think this is the way we do it. We create a media company for this industry, and we're already 98 episodes in, and we've had a lot of great help from you guys. Just encouraging us, participating in the show, helping us build this. We're actually in the process of, I guess you could call it a phase 2, because phase 1 was first 100 episodes. The 100th episode will be Thursday. I thought it was going to be on Friday, but maybe we'll celebrate it on Friday too. But the 100th episode is Thursday. And we already have a guest speaker for it. Actually, we've been having a guest speaker for it, but Brian Myers, I don't even know if you're aware, but you are the 100th episode. Congratulations. And that's going to be this Thursday, 100th episode of the Daily Parks and Rec Show, 12 noon Eastern. Now, Monday through Thursday. Friday, we have our YPN. We had our first YPN, EPN, Emerging Professionals Network, Young Professionals Network. We're still working on the, how do we handle that? I get the two different populations. Is that the best way to brand it? Maybe it is, but you get to be a part of the whole growth process. So I'm really big on just start, launch version 1. It's okay for version 1 to have none of the fixes that were obvious looking back, but you just got to get started somewhere. So we actually already have a logo for it. So our version 1 logo, this logo you're looking at here is like our 3rd logo, but it's evolving, and that's what we want. We just want to get it out there, have a tight feedback loop from our audience so that you can give input and say, well, let's do a show on therapeutic recreation. We need to have something around finances. What about the park maintenance people? And so notice the evolution. Look how far we've come. Just look at my bookcase. It's got more books than it did when we were started. And Flo is moving all over. She's like Elf in the Shelf over here. I've kind of moved her around as a little fun thing to do so you can spot where she's going to be today. Okay, so what are our other 2 shows? Maintenance, facilities maintenance. These are the craftsmen. These are the masters that have become experts in their field, whether it's irrigation, whether it's field maintenance, turf maintenance, even robotics coming in to paint the stripes using an autonomous robot, whether it's lawn maintenance doing the same thing, whether it's spraying chemicals, whether it's master electricians and plumbers that work on staff. We're just going to bring in this whole maintaining layer inside the Daily Parks and Rec show. We're going to run it 11 to 12. So it's going to be the show right before this one, Monday through Thursday. And then by popular demand, we're going to have a Financial Fridays where we're talking about everything Jamie Sabat talks about, Sevi talks about, and calling all people that are in charge of the finance. So this is cost recovery. This is understanding deferred maintenance. This is understanding the hard questions. This is about understanding what causes bankruptcy, what causes us to come out of bankruptcy. What are some no-nos that if you do this, this can actually sink your your agency. So basically learning how to govern by the numbers. There are those of the 10,000 agencies nationwide that are outstanding at this. There are those that have literally agencies that have declared bankruptcy. And so we want to study both. We want to study the failures, what made them fail, what did we learn? You know, if we're honest about saying we learned from our failures, let's go cherry pick our failures. Our city went bankrupt from this year to this year because we did this. So don't do that. Okay. And let's just talk about that. And so that way other people can say, oh my gosh, we're doing that. Let's stop it. Let's get ahead of this. Maybe you can prevent a bankruptcy. You can start making changes now. That way you're not having to literally lay half your staff off, cut needed services, maybe sell property just as a survival mechanism. Because funding's not guaranteed. I think the more you can be in control of your costs and your funding, maybe because you're doing something that it's maybe pays for itself or maybe even makes money. And there are plenty enough examples of communities that are cash flowing and are not so dependent on tax revenue. Because tax revenue, sometimes it's great, sometimes it's not so great. Sometimes it's promised, sometimes those promises are taken away. Sometimes tax revenue just goes in the tank, sometimes it's flourishing. So I think the issue is you don't want to act like it's flourishing all the time. The biggest mistake any of us make is we start doing well and we think that that's never going to stop, and that's not the case. And so we say yes, we make promises, and then only to find out that this has been 2 years down the road, we no longer have access to this type of money, and now we got to scale things back. So let's just get the people that understand this well. And now they have a show, 11 a.m. Fridays. It's going to start in a couple of weeks. So right now we're just getting the messaging out. We're circling the wagon, starting to create those communities so that we start creating content around this. And our content creators, let me run a little commercial for them. Please, this is one way to support us. Consider hiring the Daily Parks and Rec Show video content creators and social media managers to manage or just assist in the management of your social media or in creating a promo video for a special event or something like that, festival, farmers market, you name it. And you can see some of our work starting to be incorporated into these shows on YouTube. So if you look at the previous few, you'll start to see their handiwork, and they'll start to incorporate more and more of what they do. Who had a really good one? I think it was out in California. Let me pull up that one, and I can use that as a good example. Let's see, videos. I think that was the big playground one. Who was that? Oh, it wasn't Devin. Oh, you know what? It hadn't even come out yet. I remember who it was. It was episode. One moment, not Matthew. Lydia was before Lydia. Mark Flores. That's who it was. Episode number 90. Go look at his, and they have got this unbelievable playground. And we were able to pull in digital assets into kind of like a little promo about their city in Linwood, California, has an amazing literally $10 million playground. And we were able to do a little promo for the city and then also highlight Mark's career. So that was an example, episode 90, of what we can do. That'll be coming out. Actually, it's the next one. So we just released episode number 89, Michael Patton. That was actually his second one, which shout out to him. He does a lot of stuff with, like, he just runs a really good department. So that was a good episode. But yeah, we've got Mark's coming out, episode 90. We've also got Lydia. Lydia, I'm going to need your help if you're listening with our Friday episodes, because she was a master. She actually inherited, well, she's retired from this now, but a system that went bankrupt, and that was her day one. And so I want her to talk about those public-private partnerships that she did as part of the way that she helped rebuild her park system. She did a great job there. And then we have episode number 92, Matthew Elliman and Sevi. Actually, we had to reschedule Sevi. Devin was 95. Kate was just now. And so you'll start to see those come out. And so you can hire us to basically create some of those. As little as $100 a week, you can have a video editor on staff that you can throw projects at, and then you can post those stuff on your website, social media, promoting special events, stuff like that. Anyway, let me press play on this, and then I'll come back and finish off the show.
Good day, Parks and Rec fans. Welcome to the Daily Parks and Rec Show.
Across the country, parks and recreation departments work hard to build thriving community spaces. But what if no one knows about them? Without the right promotion in this digital age, incredible parks, programs, and events go unnoticed. And that means missed opportunities for families, communities, and local businesses. That's where the Daily Parks and Recreation Show team comes in. We specialize in high-quality promotional videos tailored to promote your local park and recreation areas. Expert social media management to boost online presence and engagements. And tailored marketing strategies for promoting events designed specifically for parks and rec departments. We don't just create videos, we tell stories. Stories that inspire, engage, and bring communities together. By working with us, your department doesn't just get professional social media marketing support. You become part of a bigger movement, showcasing the vital role of Parks and Rec across the nation.
Perseverance is critical to improving. It's just don't quit, don't give up, keep pushing. Especially in these park systems, park directors are constantly bombarded with things that they need to overcome and achieve with limited resources, limited staff. And perseverance is definitely in the job description of anyone in Parks and Rec. So like Julie Angie said, perseverance is failing 19 times and succeeding the 20th.
Boost your visibility, engage your community, amplify your impact. Let's make Parks and Rec the heartbeat of every city. Message us today and let's start telling your story.
All right. So if you would like to work with us on managing your social media or creating some shorts for you, or some short videos for whatever you have in your community, please reach out to me on LinkedIn, and all the money made from that will go back into building this media network for Parks and Recreation. All right. So how else can you work with us aside from signing up for my Patreon account that I'm going to build eventually? I promise I'm going to get to it. You can buy our LED light. This is a powerhouse LED light that is a workhorse, that is world-class drivers, world-class chips. You turn it on, it comes on, and it does this for 20, 30 years, just because we have great heat sink technology. And what is heat sink technology? When I say that, we have a manufacturing technique where we put a pin about the size of a pencil, piece of metal coming off of a flat plate, and it pulls heat away from those chips. And if you can keep your LED chip, first of all, if it's a high quality chip and you can keep it cool, that sucker will last forever. LED chips almost have an indefinite lifespan under one condition: you keep them cool. And so most of our technology that allows us to last long is all centered around cooling technology. And so this pin technology that we use to keep our LED chips cool makes these lights last literally forever, unless you get some massive voltage spike or lightning strike or, act of God type thing, or bullet being shot, which we've had before. These are some very long lasting lights. And yet they're still very affordable because we sell only to cities. So shout out to all my city clients. Y'all always pay your bills. And so we don't really have a collections department because y'all always pay. And so we're able to pass on those savings to the city. And then cities are longstanding clients. And so we don't have to do as much in sales. And so this was my 10 years of this. Now that I'm semi-retired from this, I wanted a funding source for the Daily Parks and Rec show. So I brought the most popular fixture that I ever sold to Parks and Recreation or manufactured for them. And this comes back from my days as a lighting engineer, a lighting specialist, a master electrician, second generation, that I wanted to make a light that I could hang our name on and just would serve a forever client. And cities are forever clients. They don't go out of business. They're might go bankrupt every now and then, but there still is a city government that has to maintain park facilities and baseball fields and such. So I made this light so that you can buy the actual fixture, the whole fixture, and hand it to your maintenance department and say, here, I bought you 5 of these. There's 5 lights out on this softball field in this community park. Go rent a lift and replace them. And you can do this in-house. It's the most efficient way to relight a field, bar none, that you can get your hands on to get a high quality, long-lasting industrial light designed by a guy that made explosion-proof lights for South Louisiana plants. This is with that engineering mind creating this. And I grew up as a maintenance electrician when I was a young man. I was the guy that the city in West Baton Rouge Parish would hire in a bucket truck. I was the guy climbing the poles in my 20s. And I could not, as LED technology was developed, I couldn't find a good fixture built for municipal use that would just last, that wasn't like $3,000 a fixture, and that wasn't made as for all kinds of use. I'm like, no, I need something that's going to last a long time. Something that's designed by the electrician, something that's designed by the lighting engineer. And so after 2 decades in that industry, I made these for my own company and only I installed them. But then this became more and more my business. I sold out all the other parts of my business and just went into manufacturing. And I tried to sell this. I really sold this across many industries, but I kept coming back to Parks and Rec. And eventually I said, we have one customer segment, Parks and Recreation. We sell one light, the sports arena light. It's only made for municipal use, and it's really made to hand to your maintenance department or your local electrician, and they install them. And so that strips away all the cost of lighting architects and engineering specs and big 3-way bids and $500,000, not $500,000, but $125,000 or $225,000 to relight an entire park, and boils it down to, can you just give me a really good fixture? And my maintenance guy is a pretty good electrician. I can rent him a lift. He can go up there, swap the fixtures out. It takes about an hour to take the old fixture down, put the new fixture up, point it where the other one was pointed, 3 wires, hooked it up, you're on to your next light. So, you can install 10 of these in one day if you have an electrician and a helper, or even a handyman and a helper. They're super easy to install. And you can relamp an entire baseball field for $30,000 versus $150,000 to $250,000. And yes, you can control these lights with a simple cell phone app that we partnered with Outdoor Link. And they can switch up to 4 baseball fields at one, and they use a cell phone technology so that they're not depending on your local Wi-Fi, or it can be something that's a field in the middle of nowhere, and they'll get really good coverage. So that if these lights are left on in a country field in the middle of nowhere, you're not having to drive 20 miles out to this county park that's in the middle of a cornfield. You can literally just say, oh, sorry, Mrs. Johnson, that it's blinding you. This will never happen again. That'll get turned off. You can give access to a coach. You can give access to a coach for a season and then take access away. So imagine you're going from here. I'll describe something for you. Now we're into the controls section. So the light starts at around 850, depending on voltage and stuff like that, beam angle and all that mess. So let me know if you need some of those. But now we're talking about controls. We partnered with Outdoor Link, and big supporter of the channel. And imagine you're making all these different keys to unlock doors, to unlock padlocks, so that you can take big disconnect and the coach can turn it off, but they forget to turn it off and on, and they leave the lights on. And so these lights are left on all throughout the night, and just burning electricity and aggravating some neighbors when you've got this massively lit field at 2 o'clock in the morning. A lot of times you get phone calls that the lights were left on. And so you're having to send your superintendent, somebody over time, or maybe even yourself, you're having to drive out and turn these lights on. Well, now you can install this one-time system. You buy it. Now there's like a monthly service fee of, I think, $30 a month by a year at a time, because you're basically paying for the cell phone plan that controls these park lights. And now you can turn on and off whatever you want. You can lock bathroom doors. If you're having homeless people sleeping in your bathrooms, you can have these magnetic locks that lock at 10 p.m. And so once somebody comes out after 10 p.m., that door locks and it won't open. So imagine being able to lock all your bathroom doors, being able to switch any light, any switch at all, any light switch or any switching mechanism they can control. So their first use case obviously was for baseball field lights, soccer field lights, sports field lighting. And it's a super simple app. And it's let me tell you how simple it is. The onboarding a lot of times is never even necessary. It's that simple to download the app. And for those that really need it, in 15 minutes, they're trained on how to use it. So if it were super complex and it took somebody that was practically a coder to use their app, the training would be longer. More people would have to use it. But because it's so simple, when you see how beautifully designed this user interface, which is a cell phone app, smartphone app on your phone to control your lights, and you can have multiple users. You can have admin users. You can have one-time users. It's beautiful. I love the system. I'm so glad they decided to partner with me, because I happen to just be a lighting engineer turned into, I don't know what you call me now, YouTuber, influencer, whatever. It feels odd to label myself in that way. But anyway, if you paired Outdoor Link with our LED lights, you get a really good system that almost every park system can use, especially if you're just like a neighborhood park, you want to do it yourself, you're trying to upgrade 30 fields. And if you did it $250,000 at a time, it would take forever to upgrade your lights to LED lights. Using our light system, you fit it in your maintenance budget. You buy 10 lights, you replace 10 lights. You buy 10 more lights, you replace 10 lights. In a couple of seasons, you've got all LED lights, and it wasn't some big capital raise. You fit it inside that maintenance budget that you've already got allocated to maintain your park systems. And I guarantee you, the system pays for itself merely on the maintenance of changing bulbs. If you go to a fixture twice and change a bulb and a ballast, that's more expensive. That's more expensive than if you just went up the first time with this fixture and you'll never be back again. Okay. On the third time, you're losing money. Now, that doesn't even count electrical savings. So you're losing money every day, every time you change out a bulb, when you could have just bought a fixture like this and sent that same maintenance guy up there instead of bulbs and ballasts, to send him up with a forever fixture that just pretty much never quits. So anyway, I'm super passionate. Literally, I spent a decade of my life doing this, but I'm so glad I get to bring that part of my life into this and found a way to fund this show. And that little fixture right now is probably 95% of the funding for everything that we're doing in the Daily Parks and Rec show, employing 4 full-time people on this. And as we sell more of these, we'll get up to 5, 6, 7, 20 full-time people, all working for the Daily Parks and Rec show, trying to create ever-expanding programming and in-person live events, and just creating great content for you guys in this community. Thank you all so much for allowing us to be able to do this. And we're going to run a little commercial for LED lights. Let us know how you like it, and hit me up on LinkedIn if we can help you in any way. Also, we're constantly reaching out to Parks and Rec directors to come onto the show, assistant directors, and now specialists, people in field maintenance, superintendents, people in just facilities maintenance in general, also young professionals, emerging professionals, and professionals on the financials and financial sustainability. We're now creating content for that, a much larger and expanding group within the general Parks and Recreation population. Also, lastly, I would love to have some people that run state associations to come on the show. I know there's only like 50 of you guys out there, but please come on the show and tell us about what it means to run a state association and why you should attend. I'll do a whole special for y'all. So reach out to me if that's something that's interested to you. Love to have you guys on here. Y'all do so much for the community in general, hosting these annual events and other events that go throughout the year. And I think y'all should have a voice on the largest and fastest growing Parks and Rec show and the media company geared towards y'all. So Craig LeBlanc here with the Daily Parks and Rec Show. Thank y'all so much. We'll see y'all here tomorrow. Same time, 12 noon for, let's see, Ryan Brewer. And he's over there in Oklahoma. He's a really good guy. He's actually one of my old LED clients, but he does a great job running his facility out there. So glad to have him on the show. See you guys tomorrow. Love you guys. Have a great day. Bye.
When you invest in our high-performance LED sports arena lights, you're not just upgrading your facilities, you're helping us illuminate the untold stories of parks and recreation communities. Every purchase directly supports the Daily Parks and Rec Show, a media platform on a mission to celebrate the heart and soul of our local parks and programs. From after-school activities to summer leagues, these spaces shape lives, and their stories deserve to be told. Why your support matters. Capturing community impact. Your contribution helps us assemble a talented team of digital artists, storytellers, and filmmakers to create compelling videos, articles, and short films that spotlight how Parks and Rec programs change lives. Sharing untold stories. From a child's first home run to lifelong friendships forged on the court, we'll document these priceless moments and share them with the world. Inspiring the next generation. By highlighting the joy, inclusivity, and opportunities found in our parks, we foster a deeper appreciation for these vital community spaces. Light up arenas, brighten futures. Your choice to install LED sports arena lights isn't just a smart investment in energy efficiency and performance, it's an investment in stories that deserve to be told. Be part of the story. Take action today. Purchase LED sports arena lights and help us shine a spotlight on the heartwarming stories that define our parks and communities. Contact us now to learn more about our products and how your support fuels the Daily Parks and Rec Show. Together, we'll shine a light on the moments that matter most.